Good morning. Hi, I'm Dr. Brett Simmelmacher. Good morning from the United States Sports Academy campus here in Daphne, Alabama. To my far right is Mr. Ben Billman. He's our teaching assistant. And we're fortunate enough to have Coach Mike Gottfried from my hometown, Crestline, Ohio, here in our studio today to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs and any other thing that might come up. Remember to type in your questions if you have any questions, and we'll be glad to have Coach Gottfried answer them for you. Coach Gottfried is a longtime coach in Ohio high school football, went from there to Murray State University, right? Played it more.
Head job.
That was his first head coaching job. Then he went from there to Cincinnati to Kansas, and then Arizona, and then University of Pittsburgh.
Not in order.
Anyway,
you better keep the job.
you had many upsets, and maybe we can talk a little bit today about your battles with Penn State, since what they've done and where they're at in the playoffs right now. But my first question is, do you think that the committee set a precedent with the non-conference championship?
I think they did, and I think they made the right choice. But Penn State had 2 losses, so that took them out. But you know, in basketball, when they pick the final teams to play in the NCAA basketball tournament, North Carolina State one year with Jim Valvano got better as the season went on. Mm-hmm. And I think Penn State's an example of that.
In football.
If there were more teams, maybe 4 more teams, 8 teams in the playoff, Penn State would be a team nobody wants to play right now. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma would be a team nobody wants to play. But Penn State, beat Ohio State head-to-head, and they're the champion of the Big Ten. So that's the only team I see that would have an argument, but I still think the committee got it right.
I agree too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
I think so, and I wanted to ask you as well, with the 4 teams that got in, obviously Alabama being undefeated and really has dominated the season. Do you see anyone challenging Alabama in the playoff, or do you think they're going to be the team that runs the table?
I think they could run the table, Ben, but the benefit of losing the game, you take the pressure off. Mm-hmm. And now, different in Alabama's undefeated. They have the one selection, mm-hmm. and they're going to play a Washington team coached by Chris Peterson. He give him a month, close to a month to prepare. Mm-hmm. He's going to give them a lot of surprises, mm-hmm. offensively, and so that's dangerous. Mm-hmm. Washington has no pressure on them. They're the first Pac-10 team to get in this thing since a new setup. And I would not want to be playing them exactly. Alabama's pretty good, but they're going to have to be ready for a lot of things in this ballgame. Mm-hmm.
Mike, talk about, you were part of the Penn State rivalry. You were there when Joe Paterno was coaching there, and then you saw what happened with the Sandusky scandal. Right. Talk about the job that James Franklin's done with that program.
He's done a great job, and he did a great job at Vanderbilt. And I'm not sure they're back yet to the full scholarship number, but he's done a good job.
Said next year will be the first
getting past that. And but that what happened at Penn State is unfortunate and bad. Joe Paterno, I think the rush to judgment was so fast when he left Sandusky stay around there, which was a mistake. But he did go to the AD and the president and say, hey, we got this problem, and so, but Joe was older back then, and probably born in, I don't know, sometime before all these incidents would come up, and I'm not sure he understood what the guy was telling him. And maybe he should have taken more time, but to rush to judgment, taking the statue down, firing all the people, I think was wrong. But I think it was a terrible situation. Sandusky was the defensive coordinator when I coached at Pittsburgh. I was the head coach at Pittsburgh. And we would always, he did a fabulous job on defense. And, but the guy must have had some screws loose because just mistreat those kids was wrong.
You had a pretty good record against them, if I'm not mistaken.
We're 2-2 in Pittsburgh against them, and should have been 3-1. They beat us in '86. They won the national championship that year. They beat Miami. They had a good team, really good. And then we beat them the next year at Pitt. Beat them the next year at Penn State. Should have beat them. In 1989, we got a holding call late in the game. And Kirby Richards scored a touchdown. They called late holding call.
And you had some other good games against some other really good teams. Can you talk about some of those wins you had?
There was probably over the years some of the favorite games were Ohio State, beating Ohio State, being from Ohio. Ohio State coming to play us. They were undefeated when they came. John Cooper was head coach. We played a great game, won that game. But that was one I'll never forget. Beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame was a good feeling. Beating Southern Cal in the Coliseum. Oklahoma. Although we didn't beat Oklahoma many times, we did beat them once. They were good. Barry Switzer's a great coach, and Barry Switzer and Tom Osborne and Jimmy Johnson was at Oklahoma State when I was at Kansas. Bill McCartney had just been getting and going to Colorado, and good coaches in that league.
We got a question.
What do you believe will be the key factors in winning the Ohio State-Clemson game?
You know, Ohio State is really good on defense, and they're going to make Deshaun Watson earn everything he gets in that ball game. They can match up. The key is whether Ohio State on offense can protect the ball, not make many mistakes, and run the football a little bit to keep Clemson on the side. I think Ohio State and Clemson both have a great shot if they get to Alabama to be a kind of team that will give Alabama some problems on defense, although not many teams have given Alabama, because Alabama has defensive and offensive linemen. They have, but they're going to run into some pretty good lines in Ohio State and Clemson.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, when you finished up at Pitt, your coaching career, moving into ESPN, and how that's changed with College Game Day, all the things that are going on in the television world.
When I was working at ESPN, now 1990, they hired me for 3 games, I believe, and then 91 I took over on the Saturday night and Thursday games, and but we were an afterthought. If ABC would come in there, they treated ABC like, but
Right.
When we came in, Butch went down there in the end zone. And but I saw ESPN get stronger and stronger, and all of a sudden they had a seat at the table. and people treated us differently, and ESPN had so many games. Now, I read the other day where a lot of people have turned off ESPN and turned off many TV sets, but I think ESPN has made some mistakes, and when you look at the people they've honored lately, they've honored some people I don't believe should have been on, and they set a bad precedent. And the draft a couple of years ago, they did something on TV that I thought would set people back, and but they have all these shows now where you're arguing with all people don't want to watch it. They get argued at home. They want to see. They want to see something wholesome. And I think ESPN's made some mistakes.
I wanted to ask a question. This is the third year of the playoff, and 2 of the 3 years now the Big 12 has missed out on the playoff. What does the Big 12 need to do in order to gain more respect or become a more viable conference when it comes to the playoff?
I think they need a few more teams, and I thought they would take University of Cincinnati in and maybe Houston, and but maybe 4 teams. But they need a championship game. But Oklahoma. Now let's make no bones about it. If Oklahoma goes through and only has 1 loss, they got a chance to get in. But this is the Pac-10's first time in this playoff setup. So they would have had an argument if Washington wouldn't have got in.
Got anything?
Yeah, I was going to ask, as far as the bowl schedule came out yesterday, I believe there's 41 bowl games. Which of those bowl games, other than the 2 playoff games, are you looking forward to the most?
I just looked at it briefly last night. Michigan and Florida State will be a great game if they come to play.
Sure.
Now, here's the problem with the bowl games set up as it is now. Everybody, when they start the season, says our goal is to win the championship, go undefeated, get to the playoffs, okay? But if you don't get to the playoffs, like Louisville, Michigan, Florida State, Houston, some teams, and they may have dropped in the bowl games, and so are they going to come to play? Now, you can say, well, when they want to come to play, yes, they want to come to play, but psychologically, whatever happens, they say, well, we really wanted to be in the playoff, but here we are against this no-name team, France. Wisconsin's going to go to the Cotton Bowl and play Western Michigan. Wisconsin better be ready for Western Michigan because Western Michigan is playing their best opportunity to beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin may show up, may not show up.
That's like their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, Western Michigan.
And I think the Rose Bowl of USC and Penn State,
That's going to be.
you
fun.
might have the 2 hottest teams in the country playing the best football other than Alabama.
No,
right now.
I think you make a good point. Penn State really, as I said earlier, in basketball, when you get 48 teams or 64 teams or whatever you get, you want to peak at the end in basketball. Well, football, I think you look at some teams peaking at the end, and one of them is Washington. They're getting better. They beat Washington State. They had to win some games along the way. Alabama's been steady all year, so Nick Saban does the best job of keeping everything in front of him. One message, one messenger, and he's doing a great job. Ohio State, it really has had a good year. When you think about all the players they lost,
12.
Urban Meyer has done a great coaching job. Should be considered for Coach of the Year. Probably won't get that because He lost all those players, but everybody figures they should be good. But he's done a great coaching job. Dabo Swinney to get back in that championship picture again when it didn't look like it looked like Louisville was. Florida State was good, and except for stubbing their toe in one game against Pittsburgh, when they tried to do too many things at the end of the game, cost him. But he's done a great job. So Urban, Chris Peterson's new on the scene, but he always wanted Boise. And think about this: Oklahoma played Boise one time in the Fiesta Bowl, gave him all kind of time. They did so many trick plays, and they all worked.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit, Mike, about you started the back then it was the GMAC Bowl.
Mobile, Alabama Bowl.
Mobile, Alabama
Yeah.
Bowl. Okay, you started that game, what year, 2000?
I think 2001.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about, you're kind of behind the scenes now, and you've started a program for young men. Let's talk a little bit about your program.
Teen Focus. It's a program for boys without fathers. And around the country. We're in Las Vegas right now. You used to be in California. Still have a lot of California young men. South Carolina, Ohio, Kentucky, Florida, Texas, and Alabama. And what we do is it's a year-round program, no cost, and where we have camps and bring people in to speak, have gatherings, go to their games or their band concerts or their awards banquets, and try to make a difference, enlarge their vision of the young men. We start with young men at the age of 10 and follow them all the way through school. Teach them things like what a father would teach if he was in the home. So, and it's been very rewarding, and it's grown. And we had Laura Bush when President Bush was in office, came down to Mobile and was at the Spring Hill campus and spoke to us, and it was a thrill. And to these young boys, and a lot have graduated in 17 years we've been going on. They have families now and jobs, and so it's rewarding.
Not to interrupt, but tell the story how you got that started at the end of the first year, was it? When they had a little bit of
We had a little bit of money left over, 15,000, I believe, or 18,000, and I went to the president of the bowl, Jerry Silverstein. I said, Jerry, I need that money to start a program we want to give back, and so we wanted this program for boys without fathers in Mobile. And we had 50 young men. I'd run camps where we had 300, 400 boys in football, but at the end of the day, you didn't get to know anybody. And so we wanted to keep it about 50, 60, 70. And so we did that first camp. We had 50 boys, did it for $18,000 on a college campus where they can sleep in the dorm room, they can go to the cafeteria, they walk in the classroom building. So maybe it'll give them a little bit of an idea, I can do this someday if I want to go to college. Not that college is the end all. But we did that in the first year, and 40 of those young men are still involved with us.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Any questions? Ben, you got any?
One more question. Who's going to win the Heisman this year?
Good question.
Wow, that is a good question, a tough question.
It's a very tough question.
I'd say right now, if I had to pick somebody, and I'm picking who I think will win it,
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
But I could be wrong on that because, but he's performed well all year, and I think I would pick him.
Right
Who
now,
would you pick?
That's a great selection because I believe he's gotten better as Clemson's gotten better throughout the season. but the Lamar Jackson's numbers at Louisville have been off the charts, but his team faltered down the stretch. So I agree, it's going to be really close. I would probably go with Watson too, just because he was so close last year to winning it. And he's come back this year and done just as well. And they're right back in the playoffs.
Usually it goes to the best player on the best team.
Sure.
And that's why Jackson and Louisville may not get it because they tailed off. In 1956, I think, do you know who won it in 56?
I couldn't.
Paul Harvey.
Okay.
And he was on a 2-8 Notre Dame team, and he beat out Johnny Majors,
Wow.
who was on a very good Tennessee team.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
Power in Notre Dame.
I wasn't even
Yeah.
born
No,
then. Well, that's great. Any other questions?
That's good. No, good.
Anything else you'd like to add, Mike,
No,
about your
I
program?
appreciate the Sports Academy. I appreciate all you do. And Tom Rosandich has done a great job in bringing the world to Mobile, Alabama area, and taking Mobile to the world. And so many coaches and players I know that have come out of this program. Mike Leach did a great job. He changed his whole philosophy. He was a lawyer. He was a law graduate. And then all of a sudden he heard about the Sports Academy, came down here and rode. And now he's a head football coach at Washington State, done a great job. He may be in the cabinet of Donald Trump before long. We don't know. So he may, from the Sports Academy, the winning coaches to the White House.
I have one last question via text.
One last question.
Who is your pick for national champion?
I'm living in Alabama, and I think it's going to be Alabama or Ohio State, and I think they're going to battle in the end. These are two coaches that have been in this thing, and they know, not the devil, he's been in it too, but I really believe it's going to be one of those two teams. Nick Saban is great. All four of these head coaches and coaching staffs in this tournament, I want to call it, are going to be prepared. They're going to have their teams ready, and anything can happen on a given day. I've seen it. In all the years I coached, one year we played Oklahoma at Kansas, and we had them scheduled for homecoming, which doesn't make sense. They're the #1 team in the country, and we lost early to Northern Illinois, and we're playing them for homecoming. So Monty Johnson was a great AD. I had great ADs: Monty Johnson, Johnny Reagan, Mike McGee, and just the best. Ed Bosey was really good at Pittsburgh, and so Monty scheduled Oklahoma for homecoming. They came in there, and we didn't go to the stadium to work out. I had already had the dream, believe it or not. You may say this guy's out there, but I'm telling you, I had a dream that we were going to beat them about 8 days before the game. We were open the week before. And I passed Larry Brown, who was our basketball coach, a great coach. And I passed him, he said, how's it look this week? I said, Larry, we're going to beat Oklahoma, the #1 team in the country. And so I met with the coaches. I said, listen, if you don't believe, get out of here right now. I don't need anybody not believing. And I met with the players and said the same thing and told them how it was going to go. So we worked out at the indoor facility. And so I had a manager out at the stadium. And he said, he would walkie-talkie, he said, Oklahoma's coming out to warm up their pre-game practice. He said, Barry Spitzer's looking for you. I said, he's not going to find me, I'm down here. So, and we boarded the bus 10 minutes to 1. And we got out there 5 minutes to 1. And the manager had to go out for the coin toss. And I told him, I said, don't worry about it, we're going to win the coin toss. So we went, so we'd take the ball. And so we arrived out there, came out of the buses, went on the field. The offense, or the kickoff return team went out. We returned the ball. We went right down the field, scored 7-0. When at halftime, I had already told them, I said, we're going to be ahead by at least 2 touchdowns at halftime. But to finish this job, you've got to really play hard in the third and fourth quarter. Because a lot of near upsets happen sometimes, but we want to steal the deal. So we won that game, and Barry Switzer came in and really congratulated our team. And they beat us like a drum the rest of the time at Kansas. So the next 2 weeks later, we played Nebraska at home. So I tried the same thing again with no drink. Same thing again. We got beat 58-7. So it didn't work the second time.
Well, we'd like to thank you for coming over here,
Thanks,
Coach
Jim.
Gottfried. It was.
You're just still taking me to lunch, aren't you?
I'm taking you to lunch. I'm taking you to lunch. 2 Crestline guys getting together.
Remind everybody that we're back to our normal time next
Yeah,
week.
we'll be back to our normal time next week, Wednesday, 11:30.
14th.
I'm sorry,
The 14th.
the 14th. Make sure you tune in next week and have a great week in sports. And once again, thank you for coming, Coach
Thank
Gottfried.
you.
I appreciate you coming over here.